everyone, welcome back to another QuickBooks Online tutorial. This is Claudia, your host. I've been a bookkeeper for a long time, over 20 years, using QuickBooks desktop and online for a long time. I also have a master's in accounting, so I have both the bookkeeping expertise as well as the accounting expertise, and we like to put it together to help you understand QuickBooks Online and make your life easier. Today we're going to talk about a subject that we always touch, which is undeposited funds. Why do we talk about undeposited funds so often? Why do we use undeposited funds? First of all, why do we talk so much? Because it's one of the biggest nightmares for accountants and bookkeepers. And a lot of times those accountants and bookkeepers will not understand the workflow of undeposited funds, and mostly business owners have no clue why we have undeposited funds and what is undeposited funds all about. And for this reason, there's a lot of errors. There's accountants that do journal entries, and then at the end of the day, you haven't resolved the problem. So we're going to talk about the workflow of QuickBooks Online payments and why we use undeposited funds, which is actually a security or safety measure to make sure that all the money that you record in QuickBooks Online is accounted for. It is a very important feature, but at the same time needs to be used in a proper way so you're not duplicating income. When you duplicate income, which is one of the biggest problems with undeposited funds, you're actually paying taxes on more than what you're supposed to. Not only that, you have the wrong information on your books, which is not a good thing. It's kind of like having a messed up map and you want to go somewhere. You're not going to be able to get where you want to get because it's not the right information. That's the same thing with your financials. You want to make sure that everything is correct. So without much further ado, here we go to QuickBooks Online. All right, so here we have our sample account, and I'm going to show you, first of all, we're going to talk about QuickBooks Workflow very quickly. I'm not going to do any invoice, but we're going to show that on the plus new, on the left-hand side menu, left-hand side menu, you see the option to enter an invoice. That's the first step. So you want to enter the invoice for your clients with all the information you need. After you enter the invoice, the next step is to record the payment, right? So I'm going to do one very quickly for you. I'm just going to use customer, and there you go, just a small one. So everything is good here. We're going to save it. And then the next step is to record payment or receive payment right over here. Once you receive payment, you want to make sure you send it to payments to deposit or undeposited funds, which is the same thing. Undeposited funds is an asset account. It's actually the place where you are sending your deposit, the money you received, until you actually go to the bank and physically deposit. And this is done so you can record your payments right away, even before you actually go to the bank and deposit them all together. Now, the importance of sending to the payments to deposit instead of straight to the bank, it's great. And one of the reasons why you do that is because, let's suppose you have multiple checks, and if you send all to the bank, it's not gonna let you match. You can search for a match and then even add all the correct payments or invoices that are related to that, but there's all kinds of errors that can happen. When you send it to undeposited funds or payment to deposit, it's going to be sitting in there, and I'm going to show where you're going to go to record that deposit, which needs to match exactly what happened to the bank. Okay, so first step, send it to payments to deposit. So that's where you want to send it to. Okay. Now the next step is to make sure you record the deposit. Okay, so we're going to get out of here, and when you send to undeposited funds or payment to deposit, the way to record the deposit, you're going to do a plus new and click on bank deposit. All undeposited funds should be sitting over here. Okay, and there it is. Now, I want to make sure that whatever happened here will match whatever happened in the bank. So I'm going to show you this deposit of $3,400 on on February 24th, and we're going to find it here. So actually we received on the 20th. It's only one check, and we're going to record this to the bank. Now, it's important for you when you record the deposit to select the correct bank and the correct date of the deposit. So I'm going to change this to February. Let's say that I deposit on February 23, because here it shows that it was cleared on the 24. So let's suppose it cleared on the 23. So I have the right bank account, I have the right date, and I have the right amount. Very, very important to check all those things. So I'm going to go ahead and save a new, because I still have a few more deposits to take care of. And I'm going to show you how I match in QuickBooks Online. So I'm going to, oh, by the way, I'm using 2 tabs. I use it all the time. It's so useful. To get that, you just right click on your computer and duplicate it. So it makes your life easier. Okay, now here I will need to refresh the page because I'm using the 2 tabs. I can click on categorize and then for review. That's one way for me to refresh it. It's not going to show it because it's 2023, it's more than 6 months. So for me to match it, I'm going to click on the transaction. Oh, click it out of the black and click on match. And there it is. I check the date, check that there is no difference. That's the right amount. Everything looks good. I am matching this transaction. That's the whole workflow, okay? And when we go to the bank register, and we're going to flip the date here, you'll be able to see it, not 2022, 2023. Let's keep on going. One more page. By the way, there's different things you can do to make it easier. Go straight to the deposit. So February 24th, 3,400. Oh, let's change the bank account. Look at this. I have the credit card field. So I have to go to the Chase. Okay, there you go, Chase. Let's go February. Right, tired of going through the pages? Yeah, so what you can do is just click on the funnel here and just put the date. Let's go straight to the date. Sometimes I like to put like 22 days before, 3 days before, because it doesn't clear right away. That's one way for you to make sure you catch that, and maybe 2-3 days after as well. So I'm going to put the 27th, and there it is. And I have the green flag here, means that that transaction was matched. So if I click on the transaction and click on edit, it's going to open and it's going to show the deposit here, all the details for that. If I want to see the receipt, I click on the highlight blue where it says customer, and it opens up for me the invoice that is associated. If I want to open the invoice, I can click on the invoice, and here's the invoice details. Okay, so that's all all the information that I need about this transaction. Okay, now what about the undeposited funds that was not matched on the past because of error? Okay, so those, we don't want to change anything, because let's suppose that taxes are already filed for 2022. I don't want to change anything that happened in 2022. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to select those transactions, and I'm going to record what we call a zero balance deposit, okay, or a zero balance transaction. I can set it to the cash account, but it's not going to make any change on the cash account, because I'm going to change, I'm not going to send it to the cash account. I'm actually going to send it elsewhere. So I'm going to change the date here, and I'm going to put the current accounting period as of January 1st, because once again, I don't want to change because we're going to put this into retained earning, and I don't want to change the retained earnings or sales for the prior year because it was already recorded. Okay, so I'm going to put here customer, and the account that I'm going to put, like I said, is retained earnings, because this belongs to something that happened in the past. It was an error, but I don't want to change it or fix it because taxes are already filed, and you want to keep your books records as it was before, because if your accountant used that information, you don't want to change anything there. And here is going to be a minus for the amount of the deposit, which is $1,037. Okay. And voila. So we want to make sure that the deposit here is 0, okay? All right. So it's this number that you are looking at, not the total, but the selected payment total, because that's just the transactions that you actually selected. All right. So we have a 0 balance deposit. So this money is not actually going to the cash, but you'll see a 0 deposit for January 1st. Okay. So it's not going to impact your cash. It's not going to impact anything. It's just going to change your retained earnings for the beginning accounting period, so you can clear your errors that happened in the past or prior accounting periods. So we're gonna save a new. All right, finally we have a customer here. Let's suppose that they paid cash. How do you take care of that? We send it to the cash account. So we want to select this payment to deposit. It was never deposit. Let's suppose that it was never deposit on the bank account. Okay, so what we do is just we record it to the cash account. And then if you had expense from the cash account, you record expense to the cash account. And when you see a deposit that reflects, if you ever deposit that to the bank, what you do is that you're going to record that as a transfer. So I'm going to show that to you. So let's suppose that eventually, I don't have anything for 2024, but I'm going to show you 2023. Let's suppose that eventually there was a deposit, okay, for that amount. And let's change our date here in our minds as August. Let me verify when was that period again. So I'm going to go to transactions, chart of accounts. I'm going to take a look at the register on the cash. I know once again, so we can use the funnel to select the dates, isolate the dates. It was 2024. I believe it was August. So let me put just August to September here. $190 on the 14th. So let's suppose that this was August 14th, and eventually we went to the bank and we deposit some money in there, but it wasn't the full amount. So what you do here, let's suppose this is cash. You're gonna select the payment. You can put customer or cash customer. That's a good one. Instead of sales here, you're gonna record as a transfer coming out of the cash account. Cash bank, by the way. And there it is, okay? When you add that, of course, please ignore the dates. When you add that, it's going to show that the money was withdrawn from the cash account and deposited into the checking account, okay? I'm going to show that very quickly. Remember, the dates are not matching. So I'm going to have to change the date here. It was February 2023. And okay, and there it is. Okay, so money out. So that's what you want to see. All right, now what happens on payments to deposit? Like when, so what when we deposit the money into the bank account, what happened to it? How is it recorded? That's what we're gonna see it. So we're gonna go into payment to deposit, into the register, view register, and you're gonna see that the payment to deposit have deposit increase and decrease for the same amount, and that's what we want to see. Money in, money out, money in, money out, money in, money out. Let's suppose there is an error and you want to find out where the error is. The best thing to do is to go to the bank register, and you will see that each time the account is going to zero out. There's going to be a point that is not going to zero out because of the error, and that's when you're going to take a closer look at those transactions to see, one, where is the match for the expense, and if there is no expense coming out, money in or out, then you see that there is an error there. Then you can do a little bit of research, go into that transaction, and I would go to the income, because obviously there is increase first and then decrease. But if there is a decrease and no increase, means that maybe you recorded a deposit to undeposited funds and there was an error there. So that you can go into that transaction and record it the way it's supposed to. You never record a transaction to undeposited funds, or never route income to undeposited funds. It always has to be some kind of income account, such as sales or sale of product, but never undeposited fund, because undeposited funds is just a holding account, a holding asset, where you're holding the money there until you actually go to the bank and deposit the account. So what other problems can you have on payments to deposit or undeposited funds? All kinds of problems, but a little tip here. A lot of times undeposited funds error comes from the products and service. How do you find that out? So like I said, if you find a transaction here, maybe there is like a decrease but no increase, or there is an increase and no decrease, you want to get into this transaction, edit, and try to find out a little bit more detail on this transaction. You can, go into the invoice. Okay, let's go into the invoice. And maybe one of those products here is routed to the wrong account. So how do I fix that? I'm going to go to products and service. I'm going to go to the product that is on the invoice that is probably an error, and I'm going to click on edit. I'm going to take a look at the income account, and I want to make sure that it's sales or sales of product. And of course, a lot of times it's not. Sometimes it's undeposited funds. And if it is undeposited funds, you want to change that, right? I'm going to just show you how to change this. So I'm just going to put sales of product, just another one. And one thing that is very important, when you are fixing your products and service, you want to make sure you select this box that says also update this account in historical transactions. So everything that happened with this product will be updated. So you don't have to go back on transaction per transaction to fix it. It will automatically fix it. So this is just a tip that could happen in undeposited funds. Something else that you can see now, one thing that is important to know is that on undeposited funds or payments to deposit, everything that you see here should be a payment. So if something says invoice, is definitely a problem with the products or service, or maybe it's because you take a deposit as a full payment. So that's actually an error, unless you're supposed to take a deposit because the customer pays in full and then you provide the service. But that, deposit, if that's the case, it goes to a liability account, which is unearned income, and then transfer to income as you earn that income. But very important to know that everything should be payments. Everything that is sitting in here should be payments, not expense, unless it's a refund. I'm sorry, there are occasions that there are refunds. Okay, all right. So so this is a few tips on undeposited funds. When you look at your reports and your balance sheet, okay, you want to see that undeposited funds or payment to deposit as 0. If there could be a different number. Okay, there could be a different number on the payment to the deposit. If the deposit would, let's say it was received on January 31st, but it didn't clear until February 2nd, and you're looking at the statement, you're looking at the balance sheet with a cutoff date of January 31st. So you're not going to see that transaction clear until February 1st. So here you're going to have an undeposited funds for the amount that clears, because it's still on that holding account until the following day or 2-3 days later, which happens, right? Okay. All right, this is it. I know it's a lot of information. We're going to go back here. All right, guys, I hope that this was useful. But if you need more assistance, you can actually hire us. We can help you go on a one-on-one tutorial where we can walk you through and solve and try to resolve exactly what's going on here. Now, have you ever thought that if you're a bookkeeper, if you're an accountant, you're actually like a detective. And that's exactly what undeposited funds is all about. When you're researching undeposited funds, is detective work. You got to find out, where is this error coming from? As you look into the account register, you can find there exactly where the error started. So you look at historical data, and you're going to find out, like I said, the balance should always get to zero at a certain point. When you stop seeing that zero, you most likely have a wrong transaction in between those. So the one way for you to know those transactions are to find those errors. And then, like I said, in the register, you can also take a look and verify that maybe sometimes the error is coming from a product and service that is miscategorized into the undeposited funds. Now, as I mentioned to you, you don't want to do a journal entry, because once you record the deposit, it's going to take that balance out of there, and it's not going to solve that problem of an incorrect undeposited fund. So you actually have to research it. And sometimes I had cases of clients that had 10 years of errors, and it took a lot of work. And sometimes it gets to a point where we know that it will be a lot to find out where is the specific error on undeposited funds in the past, because of all the errors that occur through the year. So it is very important for you to stay up to date and keep your books up to date so that you don't get to that point. I hope that this was useful. If you do like this content, I do ask you, please subscribe to our channel. I'll be back over and over again with different subjects and different things that will help your life. My goal here is to help you and use all the experience I have gained through the years to make your life easier. Either you're a bookkeeper, you're an accountant, or if you are a business owner that like to do your own books and want to learn, yes, subscribe to our channel. I'll be back next time. And until next time, keep on smiling.